research is an integral part of human history and how the world evolved around us. That is why there's great importance placed on Research Day here at the Shortwood Teachers College. Join us for this journey as we venture into data collection, mental illness, and how we're going forward in researching and processing of data to make our society better. Ready, set, research. What does Research Day here at the Shortwood Teachers College mean for you?
Well, it means a lot because as a four-year student doing research as well, I think there needs to be more importance placed on research because research answers major questions about education and how we can prepare ourselves for the future of education as it's developing. And with research as well, we learn better how to educate our students and better teaching practices. So, learning and teaching is more important, more successful, so students learn better and teacher teach more effectively. So I think Research Day here really captivates everything and shows that the different departments here also you can have research in different departments, whether it be math, science, library, and it shows that research overall isn't just one selective thing, but it's spread across many different departments and many different areas. So at Shortwood here, I think it really captivates that.
Research Day for us at Shortwood College is about recognizing what the challenges are in our institution, in our society, on the educational landscape, and then interrogating those challenges, finding solutions. And the next step is to apply the information that we have pulled together, what we found out when we interrogated the data, use it for solutions. We are about solutions here at Shortwood Teachers College.
As Shortwood Teachers College continues to celebrate this milestone anniversary, it is certainly with a great sense of anticipation that I welcome you. Our heritage is strong. It is far-reaching, it is global. And so the theme, Heritage and Horizons, Reimagining Research for Tomorrow, is certainly appropriate. Now we're operating at a time when the region continues to navigate complex global challenges, and I don't have to name them. But research must serve as both a mirror reflecting our lived realities, what our lives are really saying, and also as a compass guiding innovative and contextually relevant solutions. It also affirms that education is a fundamental human right, Mr. President, and as a union person, I cannot escape that. And this fundamental human right must evolve to meet the needs of those who we as educators have accepted to serve.
It is through research that we deepen our understanding of how students learn, how teaching strategies can be improved, and how institutions can respond effectively to emerging educational challenges. In teacher education, research must not be seen as an activity separate from practice. We normally say research should not be an add-on, but rather it should form an integral part of the teaching profession itself. This is particularly significant at this time as the ministry is actively engaged in a comprehensive reform of the pre-service teacher education program arising from the recommendations of the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission. Through the work of the Oversight Committee and its supporting subcommittees, we are reviewing key elements of the program, including matriculation standards, the program itself, the practicum experience, and developing standards for teacher educators. This is being done to ensure that our teacher training institutions continue to prepare educators who are equipped for the demands of the modern classrooms.
It isn't just about teaching or just writing. It goes way beyond more than that, right? It's for us male teachers to actually step up, to bring a difference to the classroom, and to know and to tell the students that, hey, we can do things beyond our mindset, right? And to actually push for our dreams. The recent incidents that have been happening out there in the schools, stabbing, all of that. I mean, I just feel like if more male teachers are actually out there making a positive influence in the students' life, I personally believe that those incidents would actually reduce.
To me, Research Day means bridging knowledge gaps, because Research Day provides students and lecturers, it doesn't matter your position or your occupation, it provides everyone with an opportunity to learn about different problems that we are faced with in our current society, and we get the chance to learn about methods or strategies that are being implemented based on the findings in our data-driven society that will help to solve these problems and move us forward.
This Research Day is not just an academic exercise. It is a deliberate space for connection, reflection, and action, a space where we move beyond theory into transformation. Because we have been reminded by the author Michael Osterholm, hope is not a strategy, but it is an essential ingredient. We can't simply hope for better systems. We can't simply hope for better outcomes or better futures. We must design them. We must research them. We must test them. And most importantly, we must apply them. Today's focus speaks directly to that responsibility. We're advancing actionable research, not research that sits on our shelves, but research that actually shapes decisions, promoting crisis-ready leadership, grounded in trust, communication, and adaptability. We build partnerships and opportunities for convening, because no one sector, no one discipline, and no one nation can do this alone. We are also reminded that we must be prepared to reap what we sow collectively. The investments we make in research, in collaboration, and in integrity today will determine the resilience of tomorrow.
In this age where we have AI taking over, research helps us identify which information is facts, which ones are AI generated, and it helps us to build our critical thinking skills, which we can also pass down to our children in the classroom.
You guys are on the cutting edge of leadership in everything that you put your hands to. But therefore, how do you now bring the teaching profession that wherever a teacher in Jamaica, from Jamaica goes in the world, people will say, that is number one. But it requires you now to deconstruct the systems of which the foundation of teaching in Jamaica has been built upon. And 140 years of Shortwood allows for you to have the confidence, the ability to say, I have done it, and no one can question your legacy and your heritage. But I think, in my view, the challenge to this generation of persons in Shortwood, from the board right down to the student, is to reshape teaching itself in Jamaica and the Caribbean. And therefore look at building a partnership across the region that allows for these young teachers and these students who will go into the sector to also be exposed to each other across the region in shaping a new Caribbean reality. Because why? You're shaping the mind of a future generation of Caribbean people.
I have long believed that if we're serious about nation building, then research problem solving cannot be something students encounter late, accidentally, or only at the university level. Research must be cultivated early as a habit of mind. My dream is simple, but ambitious. That every high school
student in Jamaica learns to study the world around them, our culture, our politics, our environment, our relationships, our schools, and to see the problems not as complaints, but as questions worth investigating.
This research day, to my mind, has presented the opportunity for certainly Barbados and Jamaica, and by extension the Caribbean, to learn from each other in terms of not just techniques in teaching, but how do we reposition the teaching sector across the region. And why is that important? A number of countries around the region are in the constant process of reimagining what education is, but two, and importantly, decolonizing education. And it therefore means a reflection of not just what we teach, but how we teach it. And it being relevant to our people in circumstances where the world continues to change at pace, and therefore what we teach our children, who of course then go on to be adolescents and adults and work and business, must now understand first of all who they are, what is their contribution to their communities, the country and the world, and then how do you take that applied education in shaping and creating new solutions to global challenges and as well opportunities.
I think the age-old challenge is that for too long, we've done a lot of research based on a thing in the academe known as academic freedom. Okay? Now, it may be a little controversial. The university president is saying this, but academic freedom means you research that which you are passionate about. You research that which you are qualified to research, which is okay, but it's about what the researcher wants to do. And here we are now having a conversation about unimplemented research papers, some of which are actually unimplementable given the realities of our region. I think the reality is that the starting point needs to be, what is the Caribbean's reality? What do we need to address? Institutions need to respond to that, and the researchers need to craft research projects that treat with those issues.
I find that too often the information remains in the journals. So I find that in many instances, the researchers, the finding, etc., and the beautiful recommendations, they don't always trickle down to the stakeholders. They don't always, there isn't, and I talk about, I go back to the whole area of special education research. Every year, for example, we have our Disability Awareness Week. This month is Autism Awareness Month, all of that. And I don't see, a lot of times there's this focus on what kind of research has taken place and the sharing of the finding of this research with the sector. So that's on one hand. There's also, on the other hand, where there are some sectors where I don't believe that we understand the importance, and maybe this is part of the issue in the sector that I am representing, that there isn't enough regarding the importance of research, and therefore resources are not dedicated to it. Persons are not identified to own the process and carry it out and all of that. And therefore, you know, I'm very happy for fora like these, because maybe we can start considering partnering to bridge some of these gaps that exist.
I think we have adequate data in some sectors. I think there are, room for improvements and so on in others. But I think as a country, part of the problem is finances. And when it comes on to implementation, it requires funding. And so what we have to realize too is, as a country, what are the things that we are good at? What are the things that are important to us? And ensure that we move towards those and use the information to drive us. And so when we look at, what we need, so we're looking at For example, now where there is a global crisis and we are struggling as a country to find our footing, we don't know where to go. So we have to realize what is it that will make us independent, what will make us, stable as a country. So we don't need to take on everything as a country. What we need to do is to focus on the things that are important to us, to keep us safe, to keep us active, and really work on those things. And then we will, those things, we can implement those things to protect our country in the future.
Part of the problem could be also which research, which set of data gets recognized and is deemed valuable and important to the problems we're trying to solve. Each and every one of us on this platform would have done some kind of research at graduate level and so on, independent research, all of that. All of the students in here eventually will do some kind of research. Where does all of that data go? Who is capturing it and recognizing the recommendations and the findings that are in those research? And so when it comes on sometimes to national projects and some of the issues that we're trying to deal with, you're more hearing about data that came out of UNDP, you're hearing about data that came from the World Bank, you're hearing about data that came from some external entity. Sometimes, of course, we do recognize work done locally, regionally, and so on. But if we were to quantify all the research that has been done by persons in this room alone, the research, the data out there is quite vast. But which of that data is being recognized and is being pulled and is being used to address some of the issues that we face?
Part of our strategic plan at this institution, Shortwood Teachers College, we have the goal of institutionalizing a culture of research. And to be very honest, we don't really have students diving into research just like that. It seems very abstract. And so this idea of building the culture of research is really to meet the students where they are and stop trying to use tradition to inform the future when it's not always meaningful. And so we want to have a forward planning, forward thinking approach where we integrate the STEAM, the arts, the TVET, looking at the skill set that our students have and internal staff. If you take a look around, you'll see all the exhibitions, and these are students' work, as you would have imagined, the effort and energy they put into this. Because research is not static, it is not something abstract, it is a lived experience. And so this goal is really to show our students and prospective students to come that research can be fun, informative, transformative, which we use it to inform all the policies and decisions we make. And we are a data-driven institution.
Right, so we tend to look at, we often do short-term pressure investing, and then we ignore the long-term productivity aspect of research. And so there's areas like teacher development that I would say that perhaps not get enough funding. Is there enough public-private sector partnership that will help to bolster this kind of development? A budget is a statement of priority. And so where the money goes or where there is interest, that's where we see the resources going. But if we prioritize it in the budget, because it is our statement, then we will know exactly where the resources will be going.
In preparing anyone, there has to be mental readiness. And I think that is where we lack focus. Because if you're not mentally ready, as teachers, you cannot pour into your students. And if the students are not mentally prepared to receive, they won't receive. But I think as a country, as a Caribbean, we have to focus more on mental health. You can't pour from an empty cup. I think mental health should be included in the curriculum. Yeah, you're teaching people to manage research, you're teaching them how to interpret research, you're teaching them all kinds of things, but you're not teaching them how to manage their mental health and to manage that of others.
Shortwood Teachers College has been a nurturing environment, and principalities wax and they wane. And so from time to time, we have not been as nurturing of our students as we ought to be. And that is something that we want to amplify at this time. We want to ensure that when they leave here, again, I'm going to use a term, they're fit for purpose. They understand that they are going into a classroom to not just help students to pass 9 subjects, but to help students to be human beings who are going out into the world to make a difference, to be caring, to have integrity, and so on. We could name a lot of qualities that we want our teachers to have. So when they go into the classroom, again, it's not about checking boxes. It's not about 9 subjects. It's about helping your students to become the best possible version of themselves. And that's the Shortwood mantra.
In brief, Research Day here at Shortwood Teachers College means a lot to me. As a fourth-year student who is currently doing this action research, it means and it helps me how to construct my research paper effectively. One, research means to me is finding solutions to questions. So my colleague said earlier, with research here at Shortwood Teachers College, it helps us to know how to identify factual information from AI information. And this data-driven world, I think that is something that we all need to master as teachers going out into the field. Thank you.
Of course, here at the Shortwood Teachers College, their 140th anniversary, and in fact, Research Day, we caught up with none other than, you see, our famous Miss Suzette Buchanan, the lady from down at Bellevue. Not a bad institution, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about her institution and what has been happening there. Thanks for talking.
That's right, straight out of the east, 16.5 Windward Road. And this institution happens to be the only psychiatric hospital in Jamaica, and it is said to be the leading one in the English-speaking Caribbean. So we're Bellevue, big and proud. And we serve the entire Jamaica, so I'm a proud representative of the hospital. And just what we've been doing, in the last couple of years, we have been focusing on advocacy, educating Jamaica on mental health, trying to keep them out of the institution and equipping them with the information and the knowledge so that they can identify some of the signs of those who are living with mental health condition or going through mental crisis. So that has been one of our main focus. Of course, you would have seen the many initiatives across the various social media platforms where we're using storytelling and skits and lived experience to educate Jamaica.
A lot of the research, of course, that we use in the region comes from outside. Not saying that we mustn't continue, but we also have to get into the habit of not just research, but data, and ensuring that data is given pride of place. And then how do we use that data to inform policy, to reshape our institutions, to reshape behavior, and to make the compelling case to our people the reason for change. Because the Caribbean people want change. But oftentimes if you don't give it the context and the perspective backed by the data, they oftentimes think, oh, here goes another initiative that's not necessarily important. So therefore, we must now use that data to share with our people this is where we're going to go. But the Caribbean region has, in my view, an opportunity to be able to say to the world that our teaching institutions, our teachers, colleges, and institutions around the region must now be the standard of what teaching in the world must look like. Because we have the DNA, we have the confidence of musicians and artists and culture and shaping geopolitical discussions. How do we now move that into education? And therefore, the region itself becomes a space that the rest of the world looks to as a model for development in education. So that is an exciting time for us.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, calling started yesterday, and we're already late.
We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody, search for someone to lead.
The planning behind this research day was very hectic, lots of letters calling, cancellations, all of that. But it was very exciting to plan, and I am really, really grateful to see how the day has turned out. It has been an excellent day. Thank you.
Today, we have definitely been fed a whole lot of information and data, research, and how we should implement some of those things. With all the wonderful panelists that made their contribution, it was a lovely day. A whole lot for us to consider in terms of implementing all of what we've learned for Vision 2030. Hi, I am Melvin Pennant, and I've been your host. This has been another PBCJ Agenda Jamaica. So on behalf of the hardworking production staff here, Owens, our driver, and Richard McIntosh, our cameraman, thank you for watching. See you on the next episode.
Unless it's love and peace that we're really fighting for, we can destroy hunger, we can conquer hate. We're rounding arms and raise your voice, we're joining hands today.
We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody, search for someone to lead. We've been looking for the world to change. If you feel the same, then go on and say,
if you're out there, if you're out there, if you're out there,
stand up and say it loud.